Hey everyone, today in The Sims 4, we're going to be creating the final girls from classic slasher horror films. I'm so excited for this video. I've got a brand new camera, I've got a brand new computer. Finally, I'm hoping I'll be able to create a lot of Sims videos for you guys in like really high quality, and I'm hoping I have no issues with sound. I do still have to buy a proper mic, so if the audio is a bit off, I do apologize. But yeah, I'm so excited for this video. I love the whole concept of a final girl. So if you guys don't know what a final girl is, basically she's the leading lady of these classic horror films, and the killer is absolutely obsessed with her. So the killer, the monster, the villain, absolutely obsessed with her, and she is usually the sole survivor of her entire group throughout the film. Though sometimes you are left guessing at the end of the film, and sometimes in the sequels, she may not make it. And I do have one in mind, and we are going to be creating her today. But yeah, I'm so excited for this video. I try to celebrate spooky season all year round. So yeah, let's get into it, and hopefully Morty won't interrupt us too much today. And here's hoping that this video works. Okay, yeah, let's get started. Okay, so the first final girl that we're going to be making is Alice Hardy. Alice Hardy is the resilient final girl of the original Friday the 13th, who survives a brutal massacre at Camp Crystal Lake by confronting and killing the vengeful Pamela Voorhees. Her strength and quick thinking cement her as a horror icon, though her peace is short-lived as the trauma continues to follow her. We're going to have to do this in stages because for some reason I'm unable to make more than 2 Sims at a time, and I don't know why that is. So now Alice is... If you've watched Friday the 13th, depending on which version you watch, I'm talking of the original one, she is part of a friend group that goes to Camp Crystal Lake sort of several years after Jason's demise as a child. And if you're a Friday the 13th fan, you know that the villain isn't actually Jason Voorhees in this film, okay? And we don't know if Alice survives at the end of this film or not. So I think she's probably the best one to start off with. I think Friday the 13th might be the oldest film. So she has a very vintage sort of look to her, and she sort of has this Princess Diana sort of hair going on. Now I've got several different hairs here that might work. So let's have a look. Let's pick, choose, play with a couple. Like, that's sitting too high for me. She kind of has these, as I said, this Princess Diana sort of bang to her hair. And I do know I have something similar. So let me see if I can find it, because again, that's too short. See, I'm thinking like a big bang like that, but obviously this hair is giving Justin Bieber, and that's not what we're looking for. So I am going to just have a bit of a play to see if we can get sort of like, she sort of has a bob. She has very short hair, but it's trying to get that swoopy bang that's going to be a little bit tricky, I think. Okay, I'm thinking I'm gonna go with this hair. It's the closest that I can get to that swoopy bang. Now, Alice does have very white blonde hair, so I think we might go for this shade, and she's got very thin brows. I believe this film may have been filmed in the 70s, maybe the 80s. So we got to try and think about what the beauty standards would have been back then. But I know that her brows are quite thin and quite light. So I'm thinking maybe something along the lines of these. I'm not going to be doing too much to their faces. Like, obviously they're not going to look exactly like the actresses that have played them, but I do want to make them as similar in looks as I possibly can. She does have darkish blue eyes, and all of the darkish blue eye swatches that I have, they just aren't right. So I think we'll stick with something like this. She does have very sort of thin, typical white girl lips that sort of drag down. They're sort of a little bit pouty, but at the outer corners, they do sort of drag down. So I'm thinking we could give her something like that. And she does have a very sort of short button nose. For lashes, we don't want to go too crazy. A lot of these final girls that we're going to be making today sort of have that no makeup sort of look. It's very minimal. So I'm thinking these ones from Miiko might work. And then for the eyes and the lips and the blush, we'll just make it very soft. So I do like this swatch here. I believe this is just from Base Game, but what we can do is bring down the opacity, and you still have a little bit of shadow there. It kind of just gives that sort of illusion that there's shadow there without it being too heavy. And then we can do the same for the blush as well. For her lips, I want to give her something that is close to her skin tone, and again, just bring that opacity down. We might even be able to get away with something that's a little bit glossy, maybe something like this. And then I think that's basically her face done. Now in Friday the 13th, she tends to wear a couple of different sorts of blouses with different sort of floral patterns on it. There is one in particular that I'm thinking we could use. I don't think it has a floral pattern to it, but you can definitely tell that there's texture to the blouse. And I think it's going to be the best option we have with what I've got. See, that might be just a little bit too much. I think there's a little bit too much of a frill there. Maybe it's in the button-up shirts. Okay, I think it's this one that I'm thinking of. And then if we just do that swatch there, I think that's quite nice. You can, as I said, you can tell that there's like, it's a textured fabric, but it's not too heavy. The pants we're gonna struggle with today, a lot of these girls have high-waisted jeans with a belt. And I've got belted pants. I've got high-waisted jeans, but do I have those two things together? No. So we're just going to see what we can do because I don't want any of her stomach showing. And with the blouse that we've chosen and the pant options that we have, anyway, I'll see what we can do. Okay, so I'm thinking of giving her these jeans here. I do have to quickly look at my reference photo because I think she is wearing black to dark blue jeans, and it's a little bit hard to tell because the lighting in the photos isn't that great. And yeah, I can't decide if I want the black or the blue, but I think we'll go for the black. There's going to be no belt, unfortunately. And for the shoes, I'm thinking we just give her not slippers, but like flats or loafers. I'm thinking just little black flats like that. And one thing I do love to give all of my Sims, male Sims included, even if it's not fancy nails, I do like to give them something. She doesn't really wear any jewelry or anything like that, so I'm pretty happy. I think this is our Alice Hardy all complete. I haven't watched this film in a long time. For her aspiration, I'd say she's probably a popular girl or at least someone in the group that her friends can confide in. So I am going to give her the neighborhood confidant aspiration. She seems like she's very sort of easygoing. She's not overly cheerful or anything like that. I'm not quite sure if she's a bookworm, but I get the feeling she may be an art lover. And I think we'll give her chase by death as well. I think a lot of these final girls today may receive that trait. But I think I'm also just going to make her good, because a lot of these characters, like, you know, there's nothing overly wrong with them. Like, you know, they're not necessarily mean girls, not the final girls anyway. So yeah, I reckon those traits are probably pretty good. And that is our Alice Hardy from Friday the 13th. All done.
Julie James is the main protagonist of I Know What You Did Last Summer, a resourceful and determined young woman haunted by guilt after a deadly hit-and-run cover-up. As the mysterious killer stalks her and her friends, Julie becomes the driving force in uncovering the truth and fighting to survive.
Okay, now for our second final girl, as you know, we're doing Julie James from I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I love Jennifer Love Hewitt. I loved her in Ghost Whisperer. So I'm really excited to make this sim today. And for her hair, we want her to have sort of short to medium length, straight brown hair with a thin fringe. So nothing too thick in the way of a fringe, just a couple of little wisps of hair. I'm not sure if we're going to find exactly that, but I do know, like something like that, I think the bangs are just too thick. There's too much of them. I think we have something that might work. Definitely not that one, not that one. Okay, I think this hair might be just a little bit too long, but I do like how the fringe is thin. It's just, I don't know, it's not really what I was going for. Even this one, like maybe it's just a little bit too much. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Like this is nice and straight, whereas this one's a little bit more curly. But I think that's the best I'm gonna have. Like I can't be too picky. We have to find a happy medium. All right, I've had a bit of a look through my hairs. I think this is the best we're gonna get. Now for her brows, they're already pretty good. I think I might just make them a little bit thicker in shape, but nothing too crazy. Maybe something like that. I think that looks really nice. Even her eye shape is looking pretty good. Jennifer Love Hewitt does have sort of bigger lips, but I don't want these girls to be smiling too much. I mean, obviously they're going through a lot of trauma. The nose is very small and pointy, so I think this will work. And again, for the lashes, we're just going to give her something very natural, nothing too hectic. For her eyes, I'm thinking of going for something like this, but then we're going to bring that opacity all the way down, and it just kind of gives her that nice natural shadow. And I think this blush today is going to be our savior. And again, for lips, we want something very subtle, very much like a soft pink or close to her natural lip tone. So if we give her this one here by Miiko and then just bring that all the way down, that's so soft, it's so pretty. And Jennifer Love Hewitt's eyes are brown. I think these eyes are pretty good, but let's just go with those ones. They just have a little bit more depth and shine to them. Now she does wear a necklace in this film, and it's sort of a choker. It sort of looks like this and it has beads on it. It's a lot longer in the film, but I know that this is the closest that I'm going to get. And then for her shirt, it's sort of like a tank top that she wears with a button-up cardigan over the top. I know I don't have that, but I have a tank top that might work. It's not that one that I was thinking of because I'm not going to get it in the right shade of blue, but that's pretty close. This one, right shade of blue, but it's just not the right look, and I definitely know I've got the perfect one. Here it is. So this is the right shade. This is from Lovestruck. We're going to ignore the back. I don't think the back is accurate, but I love how this looks. Now for her jeans, I don't think the fabric is velvet, but for some reason I cannot think of what the material is called, but it's sort of like this plush brown velvet. I don't have pants like that, but I'm definitely going to have jeans that we can make brown. Those might be a bit too red. See, I'm thinking we could go for something like this. I think that may be similar to the pants that we used for Alice, but anyway. For the shoes, we're just going to give her maybe some sneakers. It's funny, when I watch these films, I look at everything that they're wearing except their shoes. Like I'm not a shoe person, so I guess I don't really care that much. But I'm thinking if we just go for maybe like a black and white pair of sneakers like that, that'll work. You can't really see them, but I do want to give her socks underneath as well, just so that we know that they're there. And again, just very sort of natural, short looking nails, and she doesn't wear much other jewelry. But this is our Julie James, all complete. Now, I only just watched this film the other day, so I know that she wants to be a lawyer. So I'm thinking we'll make her an academic for her aspiration. She's most definitely going to be paranoid. Where was the paranoid one? So if you've seen the second film as well, she basically sees the fishermen everywhere. And it basically ruins her life. Like after she loses her friends, she loses her motivation for studying. It's actually quite sad, but it's very accurate to how someone would feel if this was actually to happen to them in real life. But she's also very loyal, so we will give her that loyal trait, and we'll give her chased by death, of course. Oh, so I had just completed the final 3 final girls and realized I wasn't recording. So let's try again, because I've had to reopen Sims and it's still only letting me make 2 Sims at a time. And we've got 1 more to make after these 2. So let's try again, shall we? So the third final girl that we're creating today in CAS is...
Sydney Prescott is the sharp, resilient heroine of the Scream franchise, forced to confront a series of masked killers tied to her tragic past. With each attack, she grows stronger and more determined, ultimately becoming a symbol of survival and empowerment in modern horror.
Now, Scream is not my favorite horror film. I know, a lot of you guys are gonna get real mad about that. It's just not something that really interested me. But anyway, we're still going to do Sydney justice, of course. Now for her brows, she does have thicker brows, but they're still very well kept. You know, they're not super bushy or anything like that. I'm thinking maybe we could even go for something like this, and we'll just keep them light. We won't make them too dark. And for her hair, she's going to have something very similar to Julie James's. It's sort of medium, short to medium length, straight with a fringe, but her fringe is a little bit more full. So I'm thinking maybe something like that. I don't really like how high it's sitting up, and it's not as straight as I would like it. But you know what? I think it's the best that we're going to get. So we've made it that nice dark brown color. For her makeup, again, it's just going to be very subtle. Maybe we can go for this one here and just bring that opacity down. For her cheeks, we might switch it up a little bit and use Praline. I love these ones from Praline because they've got like some natural texture to them. So I reckon if we go for maybe something like that, it sort of blends in with her skin tone. It's quite nice. And for her lips, I reckon we'll go with our trusty Miiko, but we'll make them a bit darker and just bring that down like that. She does have dark brown eyes, so I think that's quite nice. We have forgot her lashes though, and I just removed all her makeup. Wonderful. Oh my goodness, today is going so well, isn't it? Okay, I put all that makeup back on. I kind of feel like she's looking like a female John Wick, but that's okay. Let's go into lashes. We'll give her the Miiko ones because I really like how natural they are. And she's also sort of looking a little bit like Jennifer Love Hewitt as well. Anyway, for her top, I do want to give her a denim jacket. Something like that could work, but it is a little bit too torn. But if we go for something like this, maybe in that blue shade, or we could even go that one. Let's go for that light blue denim look. And then she's got that gray white shirt underneath. For her jeans, we'll just give her something blue. We just go for something like that. That's also from Miiko. Miiko is the star today, I think. And we'll give her some joggers as well. We'll give her just some ankle socks. And of course, we have to give her the natural fingernails. She doesn't really wear any jewelry, I don't think. But here is our Sydney Prescott all completed. Now, I'm not quite sure what she wants to be when she grows up. As I said, I'm not a massive fan of the Scream franchise, but I would say that she's probably quite popular. Possibly the leader of her group, especially after she's the final girl. Like, everyone's going to turn to her in the sequels to, you know, sort of lead them through it. Because it was her boyfriend who was one of the ghost faces, I am going to make her romantically reserved. I don't think she's really going to trust people anymore. I might make her a little bit hot-headed as well, but we'll make her loyal. Okay, now the fourth and second last final girl is going to be Nancy Thompson from A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nancy Thompson is the brave and resourceful protagonist of A Nightmare on Elm Street who faces off against the dream-stalking killer Freddy Krueger. Refusing to be a victim, she uses her intelligence and courage to fight back, becoming one of horror's most iconic and influential final girls.
Now, this was the film when I was 13 years old that freaked me out to the point that I had to sleep with the lights on, and I was 13. But anyway, Freddy Krueger ended up being my favorite slasher villain as I grew up, so I think that's funny how that turned out. But I'm thinking something along the lines of this sort of hair for Nancy. She does have that sort of light, mousy brown, curly hair, and I do like how that one is clipped back, but I'm not a fan of the clip. And I do think I've got another one where the clip is a little bit more plain and might suit her a bit better, because I think this film may be set maybe in the 80s or 90s, possibly late 70s. I'm not 100% sure. Aha, here it is. It's this one here, because I just like that the clip isn't too crazy. Now we are going to change her face up a little bit. She does have bushier brows. They're still like fairly well kept. Like, they're definitely not like that, but they're definitely bushier than the other final girls. So I'm thinking maybe if we go for something like that. Her lips are full, but those ones that came with that sim just weren't really doing it for me. So I reckon maybe if we go for something like this, bring that bottom lip down a little bit and just raise that top lip a little bit. I think the nose is fine. The eyes are very deep set, and Nancy Thompson does have smallish eyes, but they're not super deep set. They are a little bit like more rounder. I like that one. Let's give her the light blue eyes. I think she wears pearl earrings as well, so we can definitely give her those. I'm thinking these ones here. Now for her makeup, I may be wrong, but I thought that she wears very light blue makeup. So I'm thinking maybe if we go for something like that, but bring the opacity down, you can still sort of see that there is a bit of color there. It's not too crazy. Her lips, we can go a little bit deeper, maybe something like that, but just bring that opacity all the way down. And for the cheeks, we'll go for Praline's ones again as well, because I really do like how it has some texture on it, and we'll just bring the opacity down. We can't forget her eyelashes. Again, Miiko's natural ones I think will look really nice on her. Maybe those ones are a little bit shorter. And then for her outfit, she sort of wears this sweater vest with a t-shirt underneath. And the one I'm thinking of using is this one here from Werewolves. It kind of looks like she just sort of pulled it on in the middle of the night because she can't sleep, it's cold. And obviously Freddie is making sure that none of those kids sleep. And I think for the pants as well, she kind of has these sort of, I don't know, they're not cotton, but they're sort of like a cheap looking sort of sleep pant. But I reckon we go for something woolly like that. That'll keep her nice and warm while she's running for her life. And because she's running for her life, I reckon if we just give her some sneakers, these ones are from Lovestruck. I think that's going to suit her really well. She doesn't wear any jewelry apart from those earrings until she's a lot older. So again, we'll just give her sort of like short, natural looking nails. Where were the ones I had before? Because these are a little bit too much. There we go. I reckon we just give her something like that. And there is our Nancy Thompson, all completed. Now she is technically a teenager. I think all of these final girls are technically teenagers, but for the purpose of this video, our Sims will be young adults. Now, when Nancy gets older, I think she becomes a reporter, but I'm not 100% sure. So for her aspiration, I am going to give her the computer whiz. I reckon we'll give her insider, because if she's a reporter, she's going to have people that, you know, she's able to sort of talk with. I'm going to make her family orientated. I think she has kids. But you know what? We'll make her chase by death, because basically Freddie just follows her throughout her entire life. And unfortunately, Nancy is the final girl that does not make it towards the end of the franchise. Nancy does get by Freddie.
And last but not least, Laurie Strode is the quintessential final girl of Halloween, a vigilant and determined survivor who becomes the lifelong target of the relentless killer Michael Myers. Over decades, she evolves from a terrified teenager into a fierce protector, embodying strength, resilience, and the will to fight back against evil.
Depending on which Halloween movie you're watching, if you're watching the remakes that were directed by Rob Zombie, Laurie is actually Michael's little baby sister. However, I am basing them off of the Jamie Lee Curtis version, which is the original films, and she's just a babysitter that grew up in the same town that Michael grew up in, and Michael just targets her and her friends, and then basically just targets her for the rest of her existence. So that is the version that we are going to go for. So obviously Jamie Lee Curtis has a very long face, so I think this sim is probably perfect for what we're going for. For her eyes, I believe they're sort of like a darkish blue, so those ones will work. Her brows are thin, but not too thin, but they're not like tapered or waxed or anything like that. Just very sort of natural, the way you would expect the girls in these films to look. So I'm going to have a bit of a play, see what sort of brows we have that might suit. I'm even thinking maybe something like that could work. And then her hair is sort of like very light mousy brown and blonde. It's sort of fluffy, it's shoulder length. I don't know if I'm going to have something that's going to look exactly like that, but let's see. All right, something like that might work. It's a little bit messy. It's not quite the the blonde that I was wanting, but I think that's pretty good. Now for her makeup, she's probably the final girl that wears the least amount of makeup. So let's give her quite thin, short lashes, maybe those ones there. There won't be much on her lips, maybe like the slightest little bit of pink. I think maybe something like that. The lips aren't quite right. She does sort of have a she does have a bigger top lip, and they sort of do curve down a little bit at the corners. I think that looks really good. Again, we'll use Praline's natural blush just because it gives that texture to the face. And then for her eyes, something very minimal. I think we could probably get away with that. That's extremely, extremely minimal. Now for her top, there's this perfect button up top. And I think it's from Get to Work. This one here, perfect shade of blue, looks just like her outfit in the film. And technically she does wear like a black vest over this shirt, but we are definitely not gonna find that. So for her pants, we'll give her like some, maybe this shade. Okay, so her shirt is tucked in, but she does have darker blue pants. So I reckon if we go for something like that, I think that's quite accurate. And we might just give her some flats or some loafers as well. We'll just give her those natural nails, but again, nothing too crazy. And there is our Laurie Strode, all complete. I haven't even named her yet. Now I think out of all the final girls, Laurie has the most tragic of endings, really. Like, it consumes her life. Michael consumes her life. So even though this aspiration is sort of, she's not really a famous criminal. We might give her secrets. This is more an aspiration for a sim wanting to discover juicy secrets about other sims, whereas really she just wants to discover everything she can about Michael. Her whole life is based around Michael. She raises her kids to fear Michael and learn how to defend themselves in case he comes back. So I think we'll give her that aspiration. We'll definitely make her paranoid. I reckon because her entire life is so focused on Michael and she sort of just gives up on like anything else in life, we'll make her a bit of a slob just because like her house is covered in rubbish, guns, clutter, so that she can do whatever she can to sort of, you know, get rid of him. And we'll make her hot-headed too because it's really sort of messed her up. But that is our Laurie Strode, all complete. Our final girl for this video. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video and I'm so glad to be back on YouTube. I'm hoping I can sort of just, once I've got my mic, I can sort out a few little recording issues that I've been having, but then I'll be posting regularly. So it's not just gonna be Sims, it'll be a whole bunch of different stuff as well. As you can see behind me, I sell candles and I sell crystals from my own little shop called CAS. You can find me on TikTok. You can type in www.sacrednilecandles.com and I've got my own online shop. I ship worldwide except for one state, one illegal state. So yeah, basically, if you like crystals, if you like candles, if you like Sims and other sort of like witchy things, traveling, that sort of thing, I would love to have you as part of my little YouTube family, my little community. And yeah, please go visit my shop. Even if you're not really a crystal or a candle person, if you just search the website, it actually gives me some really good sort of traction, and sort of the internet does its own thing and more people sort of find the site. But yeah, so thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.